Good evening, folks. Good evening. Can everyone hear me okay? If you guys could confirm that for me. It's been a while since I had this on, and I can't remember whether I had the sound settings correct. So if you guys are watching and you can hear me, let me know if it's too loud, too soft, etc. That'd be great. Yep, all good. Confirm, thanking you. So, as per usual, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be streaming Guy Baroni because he's fabulous and I love his stuff. So I'm going to have that on in the background. So I'm going to click play on this to have a little bit of a backing track. So once that kicks off and you guys start hearing it, which should be about now, let me know if that is if it's too obnoxious. And we can fix that up. Hey, Atari. Okay, so how does that sound? Is that too loud or too quiet in the back, or is that okay? Yo, hey, Command Control. Welcome, Eric. Nice to see you, buddy. Yeah, no complaints? Okay, I'm going to assume that that's okay, and if you guys... Oh, you can't hear the music. Music really quiet. Yeah. Okay, how about that? Is that too loud? Master channel. Yeah, I've got the desktop audio on a different channel, so I've just bumped the volume up a little bit. So let me know if you can hear that now. Perfect. Okay. Man, why is it that every single time I do this, the volume settings change? So, before we continue, it's fair to say that hacking without tea is indeed very uncivilized, so cheers. Yeah, that's good. Alright, so given that I've had quite a hiatus since the last time I did this, I thought I would ease into it again this evening. What I plan on doing is updating the Kiwi extension to include the latest version of the Mimikatz code. So that will include a bit of Git stuff. Will include some C munging and some Ruby related bits and pieces on the Metasploit side. So we'll get that done, and then after that I'll probably expose a new command that I've been meaning to expose for quite some time, and this allows you to dump Wi-Fi profiles from a target machine if you're running a system or if the target's not signed in. So in other words, you've got to pull them off disk. There's two different ways of doing that in the Mimikatz code. One of them is the old way, so if you're running as that current user, you can pull their Wi-Fi profiles out without a problem. But if you're running a system or they're not signed in, you can't. So that's what we'll look to expose. Assuming everything goes to plan, we should have something that's able to be pull requested after the fact. So I will probably do two separate branches for that. The first one with the Mimikatz code, and the second one with the updated command, so we can get those merged in separately. So as always, if you have any questions, please ping me along the way. I have my dudes working on here, so if you say my name in the channel, it should light up red so that I can see. So if you do have a question, please mention my name so that it pops up and I know to come and look at the screen again. All right, so step one. You'll notice that we have a, I store all my stuff in a code folder, and under code I've got the Mimikatz repository. But this repository is a branch, so if I show you all of the remotes, git remote-v, not get, you'll see that there are two. My origin points to the Rapid7 master, which I have commit rights to. And then I've got another remote here called Ben, which is the primary repository that Gentil Kiwi maintains. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be pulling down all of the code changes that Ben's pushed up recently, and I'm going to merge them into master. And to do that, it should be as simple as git pull Ben master. So that tells it to go off to Ben's. Oh, look at that, we've got a couple of conflicts. So if we have a look at the status, you'll see that there is one file here that's changed that's a little bit different, which is not really surprising. So let's have a look at what that says. Mimikatz.c. Okay, so let's have a look for, here we go, let's have a look at this. So the changes here are, Ben has made it so that this output buffer, okay, so this is new code here. So what we need to do is just remove what's in head and include the changes that Ben's made. So that just means removing some other changes that I had running locally, assuming that that's exactly what it is that I should be doing. The only reason why this is like this is because I made some changes in this file to help sort of support the way that Meterpreter loads the extension versus how things are done using things like invoke Mimikatz. So this extension function here, you can see PowerShell reflective Mimikatz. This was created so that the PowerShell fanboys out there that do amazing work with Empire and Posh and all that other stuff are able to load this thing reflectively and then invoke this function. So I just kind of hijacked this behind the scenes to use for my means. So anyway, I've made those changes. So if I diff those, you'll see that all I've done is I've allowed for that change that Ben's put in to be prioritized over mine. So all we need to do is git add mimikatz, mimikatz.c, and then we can say git commit-s because I like to sign my commits. Merging, so I'll just go update from Ben Delphi's master. I think this version is 2.1.1. Oops, what am I doing? That finger. 2.1.1. We have a question already. I finished cooking dinner. Can you please go back and do it from the start? Yeah. You're such a jerk, Justin. That's why we love you. Okay, so, PGP key phrase. What is that? That is, no, it's not that one. There we go. Okay, so now that that builds, or I should say now that that works, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my Windows VM and I'm going to load up the Mimikatz code that I've just pulled down. And I just want to make sure that it builds locally, even though I'm not going to be using this solution down the track. I just want to make sure that the code changes that I've just merged haven't caused any problems. So this might take a minute or two. Hopefully it won't take too long. So what I'm going to do once this is done, I'm just going to push the code back up to the Rapid7 repository so that it's sitting there in bronze for posterity. But before we do that, we at least want to make sure that all of the compiler related issues are gone. At the same time, we should probably have a look through the history of the project and see what files were added, but we can probably do that a little bit later, assuming that we have to worry about that. So as we can see, it seems to be working without too much of a concern at the moment. Hey, succeeded. That's a good sign. All right, so let's pop back to here. And we're just going to go git push origin master. So that's taking all the code that we've just merged now and throwing it back up to GitHub in the Rapid7 repository. Another question mentioned. What do you think about live overflow? Well, that's a little bit off topic, 88 Spark 88, but what I can say is from the videos that I've seen, live overflow is fabulous. I can't remember the guy's actual name, but he produces really, really high quality videos, and I think he live streams as well. So yeah, big thumbs up from me for live overflow and the work that he does. I think it's great. Okay, what's going on here? Why? Okay, so there's an OpenSDF file. We don't really care about that. OpenSDF files are generated by Visual Studio. We're not worried about committing those. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to close this solution. And I'm going to rm the Mimikatz open. Come on. Mimikatz. Oh, it's not there anymore. Yeah, there you go. So as I said, Visual Studio generates them. Obviously, when you close the solution, it closes them. Okay, so at this point, what we need to do, we're going to verify that this stuff is where I say it's going to be. So we go to GitHub Rapid7 Mimikatz. hopefully you should be able to see in the Git history. There you go, updated from Ben Delpy's master. All right, so if we look at the commits, we'll see there's a bunch of stuff in here. There you go. It looks like quite a few bits and pieces have been changed and added. RPC service, actually, that's an interesting one because that creates a new way of interacting with Mimikatz from here. Hopefully that doesn't cause too much of a breakage in the way that I was doing it before. Right, so from here what we need to do is we need to go to the Metasploit payloads folder. So you can see over here what we've done is we've updated Mimikatz, so we can get rid of that. Next we want to update Kiwi to use the latest Mimikatz code. So as you can see in the Metasploit's payload folder, this is where all the Metasploit related stuff happens to be. And in the C folder, there's an interpreter folder, and that's where all of the C version, I should say Windows native and POSIX version of Interpreter currently lives. So underneath this, I'll show you, under, I think it's source extensions Kiwi, you'll see that there is some stuff in there. But if we go into that folder, you'll see, where are we? Git remote. Which folder am I in again? Extension Kiwi. Sorry, in the Mimikatz folder. There you go. So you can see that my Git prompt has changed because this is actually a submodule. The work that I did a little while ago allowed us to actually have the Mimikatz source now included as a submodule so that all of the wiring that was done a while ago doesn't need to be rejigged every single time. So there's a couple of ways of updating submodules. And this is the most obvious and easy one is anytime you actually want to update all of the submodules in your project to the latest version that's remote, you can just run this git submodule for git pull origin master. So that will iterate through all of the submodules in the current project and update each individual one. Okay, so I keep pressing the wrong button there. So I'm going to go back up into here and I'm going to run that command and hopefully, there we go, we can see there, right there. So there's a couple of submodule dependencies here, but the only one that's changed is the Mimikatz one. So you can see we've pulled in all of the new Mimikatz code. And it doesn't look like there's any, I don't think there's new files. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't, but hopefully we won't have to care too much about that. Okay, so if I go back into the Mimikatz folder now, hopefully, see how this was FA50BAE and now it's 8B blah blah blah. So that means that it has updated the submodule reference to point to the latest version that's in master. So back to Visual Studio, and this time I'm going to open, I'm going to type it out. Metasploit payloads, C interpreter, where is it? Workspace, interpreter solution. Right, so that should open up all of the projects associated with Interpreter, including the Kiwi extension, which we've just updated. So here it is. Now, the Kiwi extension project is different to the actual project that Ben maintains. So there may have been new files that have been added which aren't yet in the project. So what I need to do now is rebuild these extensions and make sure that they all build no problems at all, in particular Kiwi, and make sure that if there's any files that are missing that I actually add them to the project so that the project will continue to compile. As you can see, Visual Studio likes to take a sweet ass time parsing a bunch of stuff. But down here you see it's parsing all of these included files and generating IntelliSense and all this other wizardry. So yeah, we'll just let that run for a sec. Last one off-topic question: can you recommend CTF streaming platforms? To be honest, no. I don't really have any recommendations for that. I mean, I would, if I was going to stream CTF related stuff, I would, assuming that's what you mean, I would just use Twitch. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Anyway, all right, so let's just, I'm going to go Control-Shift-B because I'm a keyboard fan. As you can see, it should kick off the build. So I'm just going to let that run. We'll keep an eye on the build output a little bit. And we'll see all of the extensions should run without so much of a concern. Actually, that's not true. I need to cancel that build. Build cancelled. This debug stuff, that shouldn't be there. I'm going to fix that. I'm going to set this to release because the only things that really work are the release versions of Meterpreter. So in fact, what I'll do is I'll change that to 64-bit as well, and I'm just going to force a clean. Make sure that we're building from scratch. This does mean it'll take a little bit of time, but it's important. So those, I don't know how those debug things are still in the configuration. I've listed those as an element to remove. If those more astute would have picked up. Remove the damn debug settings. So I am going to remove those while we're on stream. I'm going to get rid of all of the debug configurations because they don't work and they shouldn't be used. They cause problems, they don't reflectively load properly. I'm not exactly sure why, but there's not a great deal of benefit in attempting to figure out why that's the case when there are so many other things to do. Let me know if you guys have any glitches with the stream. I've got it running on my other laptop, which is why I'm periodically looking over to make sure that things are coming down and not stalling for any reason. So if you have any issues, let me know. All the font sizes and everything should be set up so that you can see clearly. Yeah, I want to make sure that you guys can see all that. Watching builds is so much fun, isn't it? You probably notice as well, for those who don't know, this is actually building two versions of the Mimikatz code. One is the old version. You can't see it because it keeps scrolling. The old version of Mimikatz, which works on like XP and early versions, and then there was the Kiwi extension that was originally built to work on the later versions of Windows, but apparently according to Ben, the latest version of Mimikatz 2.0 and onwards work perfectly on all versions of Windows. I just haven't done the testing. So I think another thing that's on my to-do list at the moment is to make sure that I go through all of the Kiwi related functions and see if they work on very early versions of Windows. And if that's the case, then hopefully we can merge both the Mimikatz and Kiwi extension into one, effectively get rid of the old one and just persist or move on with the new one. Now all of these warnings you see here that are being spat out, these are all part of the Python extension. The Python extension has a copy of the Python 2.7.11 source code in it. And while we've made a gargantuan effort to remove every warning in both 32 and 64-bit modes for all of the Meterpreter extensions, including Meterpreter Core, we unfortunately don't have the joy of having that work with the Python code. And I refuse to go through the Python code myself and fix all of the warnings. There's just way too much code in there, and someone will break it and change it and all that kind of stuff down the track. So there's no point. Let's have a look. What do we got going on? Can't really read the fonts in Visual Studio. Okay, I'll increase the font size in just a minute now. Justin, would we alias? Yeah, I think I would probably start by aliasing one to the other. No doubt there'll be an interesting discussion to have internally and with the developers to make sure that everyone's happy with the approach. But my guess would be we'll rip one out, probably Kiwi, given that it's a name that I poached from Gentile Kiwi himself, and the fact that he calls it, the Kiwi release, and we'll just go back to Mimikatz. But yeah, we'll see. I don't think we'll YOLO it. I think they are too concerned about keeping people happy, which is fair enough. Be nice if they could be removed because people stop using XP. Yes, that would be lovely, wouldn't it? But I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, particularly given that so many banks and IoT style devices are using it. Would it break anyone if Mimikatz was dropped? I don't think it would, to be honest. But there are some people who still by default load Mimikatz when they're moving around, so who knows. Keen to see if people will break without a compat layer. I would be surprised if in this day and age so many people would continue to break. Okay, so there's going to be some errors clearly. So I'm going to go. I hate this error list, so I'm going to go back to output. We can see that one of the projects has failed. Jeez, I wonder which one that is. Let's have a look. WinPmem. We also need to fix up WinPmem. There's a couple of horrible warnings in that code as well. Here we go. We've got some issues here with Kiwi code. Unresolved external symbol create environment lock. Cool process ob. So that will be where. So as you can see, there's a bunch of Kiwi Mimikatz related code in here. Now I've just got to figure out exactly where this happens to be. So let's do it on silly mode. Now I've got a Vim extension running here, which causes all kinds of key binding issues when I'm copying and pasting. So I have to do things like this, select, copy, and then find all. Should probably set this to entire solution. Okay, so extension Kiwi, here we go. Righto, so this function here, destroy environment block, has probably been, this particular call to has been added by Ben, I would assume, since the last time I pulled this code in, which means I may have to link in another library. So you can see we're actually using this elsewhere in the code. Let's see what this is actually using. So this is using user-env-lib, which is the user-env.dll. So I would assume that means we've got to have a user-env.lib include. So we need to go to our linker settings. There's quite a few here, as you can see. I can't see. Let's just go edit. Can you see user env? No, user env isn't in there. Very interesting. So if we go all platforms, all configs, this, oh good, this is the same. So I should be able to just go user-env.lib and apply. So that's telling the linker to include that library. Is that the user-env? Yep. So I say user-env.lib because that's what references the .dll. Let's build that again and see what complains this time. Unresolved. We've got a couple more unresolved external symbols. Actually, what we might do is just build this. Just build the one thing and see what this says. Unresolved external symbols. See, these bugs are really easy to fix because they're literally just requesting new library includes. We just need to figure out exactly which ones. So WinStation Open Server W. We can figure out what that's, what is requiring that. WinStation Open Server. Okay, where are we? We are looking for a Win32 function by this name. Maybe I did it incorrectly. There you go. I say it's easy, and clearly it's not. Okay, just making sure you guys are all good. So let's find. Sorry, which one was it? WinStation Open Server W. Here we go. external. I wonder where this comes from. So what we might need to do to answer this question is we'll create another instance of the studio and we'll reopen Mimikatz and we'll see where that code lives. It could be that there's a wrapper that Ben has created somewhere that we just need to import ourselves. It could be that I'm completely wrong. Let's find out. Search whole project, please. Find all. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything crazy going on. It just looks like there's a missing include. So assuming this is in the Mimikatz code itself, yeah. Let's have a look at the modules that he's importing. Go to the link inputs. Hopefully there'll be something obvious in here. User env. I wonder if it's this. This certainly looks interesting. msasn1.min.lib. I think we may have something else to include. But anyway, we need to figure out exactly where that's coming from. Assuming that that's part of a Windows API that somehow we're missing. Let's go to the definition of this. Oops. WinStation Open Server W. There's got to be some reference to it. WinStation Open Server W. Jet API library. It's not going to be part of that. Maybe there's some reference to some other function that, here we go, WinStation information W. Some of the structures you'll even define in this location. Let's see. Winstar.dll. Functions in Winstar do not belong. So maybe that's what we need. winsta.lib. Is that listed here? This interface is horrible, isn't it? Let's have a look. There it is, right there. I wonder if that's all we need. Kiwi, properties, all configs, all platforms. Edit. Can we see it in here? I hope not. Hey, all right. Build again. See, isn't this a wonderful educational experience? Cool, that got rid of some more. Let's just do the build again of a single component. What are we missing now? ASN1 create encoder. I wonder where that's from. We've also got a symbol, this cool mRPC do referenced in dispatch command. So that clearly is something new, and I would assume that cool mRPC is a new file that has appeared in the code base. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open contain folder here and see if we can look rpc.c, and it's probably fair to say that it doesn't exist inside the project. So cool m service. So it should be in here, and you can see not listed there. So we can fix that by grabbing these two and chucking them in. They'll be in the local modules. There we go. So there they are there. Now if I build, I should get rid of another couple of errors. So this is what my life looks like when I'm slowly but surely fixing things. And as you'll see here, we've got more errors now because we've added these two files. And they're all in the RPC one. So Mimikatz version 1. So this is probably going to end quite painful because I know that Ben's added a couple of interesting things to the Mimikatz code recently, one of which is a COM-based interface and one is an RPC style interface. So let's see what's involved there. We need CLI mimi command. Let's have a look for that. CLI mimi command. All right, so we've got this RPC. Oh, it looks like we've got a whole RPC module here. Okay, I'm pretty sure that doesn't exist. So where would we find that? Where are you? Mimikatz modules RPC modules RPC. Wow, this could all be new. Certainly looks new, doesn't it? Let's go back over here. You'll see we've got these local modules here, which basically matches exactly the same folder structure as what is effectively this common, this local modules here. But we need to add this RPC folder, which should be in common. All right, so let's do that. Oops, RPC. Ooh, there is a bunch of RPC related stuff in here. How interesting. Does that mean, it looks like what I've done is actually the wrong thing. So these RPC things are in here already, just like what we've got up here. This is the same file, I think, as what I'd opened before. Yep. Oh no, it is definitely a different one. So I have done the right thing. But those RPC things, I wonder if we've got the same amount. So this is the Mimikatz code, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's one missing. It's this one, isn't it? No. Claims. It's probably obvious to you guys. DPAPI entries. Yeah, back up. Mimikatz. Of course, that's where the errors are. All right, so let's open the folder containing this key here, and we should see these. And we should be able to drag those in and try again. Solve an error, add 2 more. Isn't that the case at Wolf? There you go, that got rid of some. All right, getting closer now. So ASN1 create module. This is clearly something that we need to include, but I reckon there's going to be a reference to this somewhere on the internet. Here we go, msasn1.dll. Excuse me. Yes, so that again, that's just another missing module. So let's go back over to the Mimikatz code again. Check out the linked libraries. There'll be something in here that's obviously associated with the ASN1 stuff, which I think we looked at before anyway. msasn1.min.lib, that was probably it. Apologies for this being a little bit tedious, but you know, that's the nature of the game when you're doing this kind of stuff. Yep, it's definitely missing. And build. Ooh, is it gonna work? Boom! There we go. That doesn't mean it works. Doesn't mean it works. But the good thing is it compiles now. So that's a winner. Happy with that. And that has resulted in us not having to do anything with COM interfaces or anything else like that as well, which is a good thing because that could well have caused problems, particularly when it comes to reflective DLL injection. We don't really want to have to deal with fixing the reflective loader if for some reason COM related exposure causes issues. So I've got the 64-bit DLLs in there now. I'm just going to go and fly by the seat of my pants. There is a build script in here. We can go make install C Windows. Now what this does is, because of the nature of the way I've got my project set up, if you have the Metasploit payloads folder sitting alongside the Metasploit framework folder, then when you run make install C Windows, it will actually copy the DLLs that you've built over into the right location in MSF. Now this is really handy for two reasons. First of all, while you're doing development, you want to be able to deploy those files really easily and be able to test them. And the good thing about doing it this way is this puts them in a folder that overrides the binaries that come with the Metasploit payloads gem that's wired into framework. So, and when you run it, as we'll see very shortly, if Metasploit loads those files off disk in that location rather than in the gem location, you'll get a warning to say, hey, you know, I'm using DLLs here that are part of your development environment rather than part of production, so to speak. So that lets you know, one, that your DLLs are actually being used, and two, if you forget to remove them later on, you're still getting the warnings and you can get rid of them then. So that means if we look at data interpreter in here now, you see we've got a bunch of DLLs. All of these DLLs don't usually exist in here. Right, so I'm going to run MSF console, and what should happen here is, as you can see, I had this baked from before. I'm just kicking up a handler that does a 64-bit listener on a port, and we are just going to run that. While that's running, I also have a pre-baked payload sitting here on the desktop because, you know, watching that kind of stuff is pretty boring. I should be able to run that, and I'm going to run it as admin. There we go. So jobs-v. There you go. We can see we've got a reverse TCP handler running, and I'm going to fly by the seat of my pants and go run. Now, if all goes to plan, here we go. See this warning? Local file is being used. So this is telling me that my current development DLLs are actually in place. So let's go to the first session. We can see that we are 64-bit, Windows 10. Windows 10 should be fully up to date. Yeah, and now I'm going to type this in, and if anyone trolls me about it, I'm going to get very unhappy. But we're going to get a system token. Again, you can see that we're using the 64-bit elevator DLL, and I should be able to use Kiwi, and there it is. Okay, so this is good. All of this, what's happened is it's correctly reflectively loaded the new version of the DLL, and so that hasn't caused any breakages. We haven't got a crashed session, and we can see all of our commands are actually wired in appropriately. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Credzall. I'm going to run Credzall, and it is going to dump a password, but it is a password that I use for all of my VMs. If you get on my VMs, good on you. And there it is. So there you go. It does work. It's working beautifully. LSA dump. Let's go secrets. I realize I'm doing this on stream, and that's really a bad thing, but there's nothing on this VM that I care about, including passwords, keys, credentials, and whatnot, so feel free to try and own me in various other ways. But anyway, that's all good. I'm happy about that. There is one thing, though, that we are going to change. So let's confirm by going back to the original Mimikatz repo. Inside, that still says version 2 alpha, so Ben hasn't updated his README or the date. But under releases, where are we? Releases 2.1.1. So that's the one that we are currently, there you go, released 2 days ago. We might even steal the exact version number. Okay, and we're going to drop that in here. So let's go edit. No, let's use fuzzy. Kiwi.rb. Now it will be in librex post interpreter UI console command dispatcher. Here it is. Now what I'm going to do is get rid of that little comment there that says Mimikatz software, and let's put the full version in. There you go. Now that might trip IDS for all I know, but for now that's what we're going to do. So we'll write that, and then if we do this again, we'll make sure that the version number actually pops out. Fingers crossed anyway. Sessions -1, use Kiwi. There we go. So that's telling us the appropriate version number. Alright, so that is the process involved in taking the latest version of the Mimikatz code and actually making it work inside the Kiwi extension. You can tell from the work that I've just done here, I haven't actually taken any of the new commands that Ben's created and wired them into the MSF interface. But that's something that we're probably going to do very shortly anyway. So, what do we got going on? In a CTF, I've firewalled the default for, but it's funny to watch people rage that their exploit isn't working because yeah, man, I totally hear you. For some reason, my go-to L port is when I'm running locally is 8888. Maybe it's because it's twice as good as 4444. Who knows? Justin, make install CWAMs. Yeah, and there's also make install C POSIX. There's make install Java, make install Python. All of those things are there to do exactly that. Simple as that. So Jeff 79M, greetings, sup nerds. Now you're speaking my language. Is chat doubling up for everyone, or is it just me? Yep, pretty sure it's just you, and the Justin Steven is being a troll. Nice one, Justin. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is we're going to go back to the payloads folder, and you'll see that there's a bunch of stuff that we've updated. Now, before I do any more, the best thing to do, this is a pro tip for those people who don't muck around with Visual Studio that much. So make sure that all of the changes that you make to projects and solutions and all those other things are actually flushed to disk. Just close Visual Studio. Because there are so many cases in the past during my dev days where I've seen people commit some changes and not others to their repository because they haven't made sure that all of the Studio related stuff has been flushed to disk. In particular, stuff to do with projects and files that have been added. Things like that tend to be a trap for young players. So there's only those things. I'm going to go git add, and I'm going to add all things. You can see they're all now staged. Now this is interesting. What I should do instead of doing that is this. Let me just reset that. Do the same here. So this is me unstaging those things. Okay, git branch. No, not git branch. Git checkout. Let's do it the checkout way. Checkout to a new branch. Update Kiwi 2.1.1. Okay. Now I will stage these changes to this branch. Git okay, git commit. So, what I'm going to say here is update the Kiwi extension source to v2.1.1. This brings the source up to date. I can't type. Up to date with the source from the Rapid7 repo, which includes the 2.1.1 source released by Ben. There you go, just a pretty simple comment. Oops. I feel like you're all watching me, which is why I can't type. Oh, I've messed it up again. There we go. So we can go git push origin. So I'm pushing to my branch, not to the Rapid7 branch. Update Kiwi 2.1.1. Now I'm not actually going to PR this code just yet. Because as soon as I launch a browser where I'm logged into GitHub, I'll end up with all kinds of alerts and signals, and my OPSEC will be a huge failure, no doubt abused live by the likes of Justin and Ryan and other jerks. In fact, are they in here? No. Oh, that's a good thing. But anyway, I won't do it. So I need to exit out of here. And we need to do the same. So git checkout-b, git status. There should only be one file. Git add everything. Git commit. Update the Kiwi extension to show correct version number. Done it again. Okay, git push origin update Kiwi. There we go. So both now the Ruby and the Meterpreter sites have been updated to include all of the code that we're looking for. So we're now at a point where we could go into GitHub and submit the pull requests, but I won't be doing that on camera. I'll do that afterwards. But I will actually show that these things are here. GitHub, Rapid7, I should go Metasploit framework, and Metasploit payloads. Okay, so we should see there's another branch in here now called Update Kiwi 2.1.1, and we should see, there we go. Correct version number, and the same story over here. I'm going to clear out some of these branches. Commits. Cool. There we go. Easy as pie. All right. So, does anyone have any questions at all about what they've just seen? Yes, Ozjock, you are indeed one of those jokes. Hence why I flat out refuse to show that shit on stream. So anyway, fire your questions at me now with regards to the pain that we've just gone through, although to be honest, it really wasn't that much pain. There are seriously worse things to have happened, including all kinds of horrible compiler errors or symbols that need to be generated on the fly, all that kind of thing. But the good thing is that thanks to all of the work that we did fairly recently to make everything work as a sub repo, updating stuff should actually be this easy. I don't know how to say your name, so I'm going to go either Bob or Bobich. Let's go with Bobich because that sounds fun. Bobich, what distro are you using? I am using Fedora Core 24. I haven't upgraded to 25 because I think it's switched to Wayland or something, and I don't think my window manager plays nicely with it. So I love my window manager way more. I'm using i3WM, which is this funky little tiling window manager doohickey. And yeah, I don't want to move away from this. So Bobby is the name. Thank you, Bobby. So yeah, basically I refuse to move until I know that i3 is going to work if I upgrade. So yeah, Fedora Core 24 is where it's at. Yeah, Justin, when are you going to stream again, you jerk? Alright, so what I'm going to do at this point is we've updated Kiwi, we've fixed that. Oh, look at this. Remove the damn debug settings. That's not something we did. Let's do that. As I said, there shouldn't be any debug projects in here. So, any debug project settings, I should say. So let's get rid of those. And we do that by going into the configuration manager. And you should see under the solution configuration, there are a bunch of debug references. So I'm going to edit those, and I'm going to remove debug and remove a Rapid7 debug. Now the painful part of this is that there are also configurations that are specific to each of the projects. So I should make sure that they're all, oh, there you go, look at these, this one here, reflective DLL injection. Let's remove that. Oh, actually, yeah, we've got to get rid of that as well. The problem with reflective DLL injection is that that is actually a different sub-repo. So I would have to go and make that change elsewhere. We will leave that as R7 release. Metserv is good. There we go, another one. I'm going to get rid of debug. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine. Okay, so there's really not that many here, which is a good thing. Okay, so that means when we go back to here, see that the two things have changed. See that we've removed a bunch of configuration from each of the individual solution targets, and there'll be a solution change in here, probably down the bottom. There you go, getting rid of both of those and all of the references therein. Let's have a look. I'm going to go git commit -a because that all looks fine, and add my message here. Remove debug project configurations from, let's see, Windows. And I am going to include it in this PR, and when I submit the PR, I will mention that this is actually part of the PR, which isn't that big a deal. Alright, so we've updated Kiwi, got rid of compilers, removed the debug settings, and make sure we've changed the message so that when it loads, we've got the appropriate version appearing. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is we're going to add another command. So there, as I said before at the start of the stream, there's two different ways of dumping Wi-Fi related credentials out, and trust me, on gigs, it's really, really useful to dump Wi-Fi creds off someone's machine if you've got access to that machine. I've used that in a number of cases because there are a number of services on a corporate network that end up using the same password. So if someone's signed into any or all of the corporate Wi-Fis that aren't using like a proper radio server, and it's just got a pre-shared key, that key will not only let you in if you get within range, but chances are that password will be used in other areas of the business as well. So it's pretty useful to dump Wi-Fi. Have we got this running still? No, we don't. So there is a Wi-Fi list command in Meterpreter right now, and that uses the old method, which attempts to parse the profiles for the current user. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that there is another way of doing it, and that's actually supported in the Kiwi extension now, but there's a little bit of work that we need to do in order to enable it in the front end. We've got another mention. Let's have a look. It's supposed to be a Wayland i3 replacement. Yeah, I saw that, Exorcat. Again, I just haven't had a play. So can you show a picture of your setup? As in my desktop setup? Is that what you mean, Bobby? Yes, as Justin said, Connor, we're updating the Mimikatz extension in Meterpreter. thank you, Justin, for answering that for me. Okay, so what I'm going to do is the changes that I'm now going to be making rely on having the updated version of the Metasploit payloads inside the Metasploit framework. So I'm actually going to create a new branch from this branch that exposes the new Wi-Fi functionality. So we'll just go git checkout /-b. We will call this Kiwi Wi-Fi shared. Okay, the reason why I'm calling it that is because this will allow you to dump shared Wi-Fi profile bits and pieces. Simple as that, really. Now, we will be making use of this. What I might do is just drag this over a little bit so we've got just enough. Hopefully you guys can see this fairly clearly. I deliberately made the fonts big enough. Yeah, sing out if you can't see it. Yes, desktop setup. I will post a photo of the. I suppose I could show you. Hang on a sec. I'll show you live on stream. Show you how messy my desk is. Oh, I really should sort out my cords as well. All right, it's probably there. You go. So there's one monitor. It's a little bit blurry. The middle one, that's actually a 4K, but I've changed the resolution so you mugs can see it. And then on the left there's another monitor there which has OBS doing the streaming, and I also have my laptop down there which I'm watching the stream on to make sure that it works. So there you go. There's probably plenty of OPSEC fails in that one little thing. Oh, you can see my other Mac sitting here as well. So yeah, there you go. I haven't done that on stream before. Don't freeze frame it and find all the creds that I've got lying around on my desktop, hey? Because that would be poor form. Righto, okay, so as I said, we've already got a Wi-Fi list function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new one called Wi-Fi list shared, and I'm going to change the help function here to say this is just for dumping profiles and creds for the current user, and Wi-Fi list shared will do it for all users, which means that you should be able to do this from a system session when you're not actually signed in as a person, or when nobody is signed into the box at all. Okay. I see there's plenty of chat going on telling Justin to stream. He should totally stream, that jerk. But he's been a busy boy with his moving and life and all that kind of stuff, so. All right, let's get moving. So list Wi-Fi profile for the current user. List Wi-Fi, what I'm going to do here is shared Wi-Fi profile creds. So there you go. Shared. There we go. That's correct, Justin. I don't really like using Kali. Kali is not my distro of choice. That doesn't mean to say that it's bad, it's just that it's not my preference. Righto, so in order to make a new command, as you can see, you need to define this command here in this commands array. So we are currently in a file called command dispatcher kiwi.rb, and the command dispatcher is what's responsible for wiring commands into the main dispatcher that's part of the MSF console while you're talking to the interpreter. Okay, so we can see all these other commands in here that we had, and I've just added this last one and modified the one before. But that then means we need to be able to do something very similar to Wi-Fi listing. And so what I'm going to do for now is copy and paste this, but with some changes. So this says dump all the Wi-Fi profile credentials. I'm going to copy and paste. Oops. Copy and paste that. Wi-Fi list shared. Call it shared Wi-Fi for the current user. Okay, so I'm not actually going to be doing anything particularly tricky at this point. So we'll be doing results equals client.kiwi.Wi-Fi list shared. And then all I'm going to do at this point is go standard add a new line to the end of that. So what that does is that's going to call into the Kiwi extension and invoke the Wi-Fi list shared function. And whatever's returned, whether it's nil or a proper hash or an array or whatever it happens to be, it's literally just going to dump it in raw form to the console so that we can see what shape it takes. This is deliberately crass at this point because I don't know what it's going to look like under the hood. I assume it's going to look and behave very, very similar to this Wi-Fi list, at which point I can probably just take this functionality out and use it in a shared manner. Anyway, so now we need to open up the actual Kiwi extension code. So we can get that from rex post interpreter extensions Kiwi. And you'll see there's this kiwi.rb file. And in here, you'll find there is a Wi-Fi list command. Okay, so this thing here is where we execute a command on the target. And we're going to have to do some trickery in here that we haven't been able to do before. So in order to get access to all of the shared Wi-Fi profile related information, we've actually got to parse files that are on disk. And so there's a few things that we're actually going to need to do, and we're probably going to need to enumerate some files on disk and pass that into this extension. And to do that, we're going to probably have to make a call on the client side to enumerate files on disk, and then we'll have to make a call inside this extension to parse that file and return stuff parsed as an XML file, just like what this does here. So that means, going back over here, we've got this Wi-Fi list shared. Instead of calling Wi-Fi list, we might need to say Wi-Fi, let's have a think. We are going to need to pull details out of a single profile on disk. Now, I was unsure as to how to invoke this in Mimikatz, and so I got help from the man himself, Ben Delpy, and he's given me an email, which I have over here that I'm not going to show you because it's got other stuff in it. But I've got everything that I need to be able to do here in order to invoke the function that I need to invoke. And to do that, what I need to specify is a full path to an XML profile on disk. Now let me show you that. Okay, so if you have, I've got this ready to go. Look. Okay, so this folder, this program data, Microsoft WLAN SVC profiles interfaces. So what you'll see here is in this interfaces folder, this interfaces folder contains a list of interfaces that has effectively been plugged into this machine that are Wi-Fi enabled. Okay, so it's a GUID that identifies the interface. And so inside each one of those folders, you'll find a bunch of XML files. So here you can see there's this XML file here. And these XML files contain Wi-Fi related information, this WLAN profile stuff. And you can see here that it's got a passphrase stored in it. Okay, so what we need Mimikatz to do for us is to decrypt this stuff and return all the content to us, just like what we had before in the older version. Okay, so as you can see, I created this particular Wi-Fi network just for streaming because I didn't want to give you any details on my actual Wi-Fi network, and then I connected to it on this device, etc. So that when we do finally, hopefully, pump the passphrase out of this thing, we will be able to see it in plain text, and we'll know that it's working without me leaking actual valid credentials to you guys on stream. Caring about OPSEC, I'm sure, is something that will make Justin very happy, given that I've sucked at it so much in the past. Okay, so this is what we need to do. We need to enumerate this folder here, and we need to extract every single one of these interface folders, represents every single Wi-Fi interface that's on disk. And then inside that, we need to find all of the XML files that represent every single Wi-Fi profile. And then for each one of those files that we find, we need to say, hey Mimikatz, give me this profile please, give me this profile please, give me this profile please. So that's what we're going to do. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, please let me know. Random chat's cool. I'll let you guys continue to do that while I focus on what it is I need to do. Now, so as I said, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to find folders on disk in a known location. So that known location, where is it? This is called the interfaces folder. So what I'm going to do is call that interfaces dir equals. It is the all users profile. I'm reading it off Ben's email. Microsoft WLAN-SVC profiles interfaces. Okay, so that's the folder that we need to iterate through, right? And so what we need to do is be able to find all XML files that sort of live underneath this. Now, Meterpreter already has a search related command, so I'm thinking that we should probably just reuse that command. That I believe is part of the standard API extension, part of the file system. So let's have a look at what that does. Let's go to the command dispatcher. I should actually go rex post Meterpreter command dispatcher. Let's have a look. Standard API. Let's go FS. That looks pretty good. What do we got here? LS. Is there a search? Here it is. Search for files. So command search is what we're looking for. Let's see what it does. Okay, so it's doing a bunch of. Here we go. Specify a valid glob. So it is doing a little bit of parsing, but we don't actually need to do any magic parsing. We just need to be able to generate exactly the same call to the underlying extension that will allow us to find the bits and pieces that we need. So here we go, files plus equals. So here we can see it's actually doing a call to fs file.search. That is the magic function that we really need to look at. So let's open up that part of the extension, right? So rex post interpreter extension standard API fs dir file. I wonder if it's under file. Let's have a look. Search for files matching a glob. There you go. That's exactly what we need. So we can call this search facility here. And if we pass in the root being our interfaces folder, we'll specify a glob as star.xml and we'll do it recursively. And then hopefully the list of things that we get back will be all of the XML files that we can do. Let's have a look. Where's a tie? Where OJ used to be cool. Did I? Well, the fact that I was cool at one point, that makes me happy. So thanks for that. Even if it's not necessarily intended as a compliment. Justin I2 rock raw I3. It's glorious. Ozjock. I am indeed using a virtual machine, Connor. It's a Windows 10 fully patched virtual machine, as Ozjock has highlighted. What else we got? Far out, Justin, you're a shocker. Colonial, would be cool to get a list of your Vim plugins, maybe in the channel description or something. That's a very good idea. I will add that to. I'll add that to the Twitch channel detail once I finish this stream. Thank you for the suggestion. There are some very nice Vim plugins in here that I do make use of. Some of which I've got installed that I haven't yet made use of. But yeah, I'll do that. Thank you, Thunder GFX. I appreciate the suggestion. Okay, so this is what we need to call. So let's go back to here. No, not this one. This one. And we'll take a copy of this function prototype as well. Okay, so that's what we're calling, and that's how we're going to call it. Okay, so before we do anything with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go files equals client.fs.file.search. Root is going to be this interfaces directory. Now, one thing that's important here is that we've passed in an environment variable, and I don't know whether the search facility will actually expand environment variables for us, but YOLO, let's find out. So interfaces directory, glob is going to be star.xml, and recurse is going to be true. Yeah. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to put files.inspect. Okay. Fly like the wind, bullseye. Let's see what this does. Just spin up. Spin up. Unfortunately, we're going to have to re-spin up these handlers and sessions quite regularly because I have to. It's actually easier and in many ways safer than rerunning extension code. But then again, let's give it a go and see what happens. Sessions 1. Okay, so use Kiwi. Let's just see. So there you go. We've got our Wi-Fi list shared command highlighted and working just fine. Let's see what this does. So as you can see on the right hand side, all this should do is spit out all of the files on the file system, assuming that we're invoking the API correctly. Ooh, the system cannot find the file path specified. So that's probably because we haven't expanded the environment variables here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to background that, exit -y, and then I'm going to go, I'm going to grep recursively through the, which folder am I looking for? Let's look at modules, and we're going to look for get, I think it's get-env. Yeah, let's go librex post interpreter. Maybe it's get without the underscore. There you go. Command get-env. So that's under sys. So we should be able to effectively do this get-env. Or no, that's not what we want. We want to expand environment strings, don't we? So let's look for expand file.expand path. So that's a local Ruby one, I assume. But let's have a look. There should be a couple of examples. Here you go. Client.fs.file.expand path. That's what we need right there. So let's wrap that here. Yeah. I hate long. So we'll say that equals interfaces directory. Oops. Okay, so we'll just set it to a constant, which I'll probably move further up to the top of the file when we're done. And we'll actually have a proper constant. And there we'll tell Meterpreter to expand the path fully for us, and then we'll call the interface to list the files. Let's kick that off again. Now when this launches, if all goes to plan and my session hasn't busted, it should call me back without me even trying. Come on, there it comes. Hooray for persistent sessions, eh? And that means that should already be loaded, and we should be able to go Wi-Fi list shared, and hey, there we go, look at that. So we end up with an array, and that array contains all of the XML files. So we've got the path followed by the name. So what we need to do then, at this point we can say if, if files.length equals 0, what can we do? We are still in the user interface. We can just go print error, no Wi-Fi profiles. No, we'll say no shared Wi-Fi profile. So that'll give us an error message to say that we're effectively done and dusted at this point. Otherwise, what we want to do is call this Wi-Fi list thing down in the guts of Mimikatz and get it to parse that file for us. So we should be able to go like this. Files.each do. Give us a reference to the file name, the file. And we'll start by going full path equals. It will be f path. It's supposed to be indexed using a dictionary. So you can see that over here on the left hand side, every object we've got a dictionary, and one of the keys is path, and that will give us the full path, and then we can append name to it. So we can do it this way. Take the path. If I could type, that'd be great. And then name. We don't need to worry about size because it's not something that we're interested in. So for the sake of clarity, we're going to have a vprint status. Oh, actually, no, there is no vprint status. We'll leave it as print status for now. We'll go parsing profile, and we'll output the full path so that we can see it. So from here, we want to go client.kiwi.wifi. We'll go parse shared because we actually want it to parse the file, and we're going to give it the full path. Okay, and that's going to give us a result. I don't know what that result's going to look like, so let's do some more copy-paste magic, and we'll just dump it to console for now. Okay, so that means for every file that's returned, we're going to go through and we're going to pull out the profile for that file, and we'll see what it looks like. What I'm intending to do is make it so that when it parses that single profile, it will come out looking exactly the same as what this Wi-Fi list command here ends up having to handle, and then we can merge those codes, those chunks of code, have one function that outputs the profile information for us, and two separate functions that go to the different locations in order to handle it. So that means we need a new function called CTW, no, that failed. Wi-Fi parse shared full path. So this will be Wi-Fi profile path, okay, just to be completely clear. And what this function will do is access and parse a single Wi-Fi profile in XML format, resulting in the plain text extraction of Wi-Fi information, including keys. That'll do. This will also return, won't return an array of hash, it will just return a hash. It'll give a single instance. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit fun. So I'm going to go response equals exec command. Now we need to pass a command down the neck of Kiwi using plain text, doing exactly the same as what we're doing here. The difference is that we're going to have to pass in a bunch of parameters. Okay, so what we need to invoke here is the following: DP API Wi-Fi. Then we need to pass in a file name. So that will be assuming, I can't really assume that there's not going to be any spaces in here. So it's probably fair to say I need to wrap this in quotes. Which sucks because I'm interpolating. I'm going to have to do things like this. Okay, so we're going to put in the Wi-Fi profile path. And then after that we need to specify, what is it? Unprotect. Now, there is a small gotcha here. This is to do with handling arguments that you pass in to Kiwi command. So I need to find the example where I did this before. See that one there? So that's wrapping the whole lot in quotes, which is going to be fun because I need to do the God knows how many nested levels of quotes. Let's just see if there are any other ones. Spaces really do cause problems. There you go. There's another one there. All right, so let's do this. We know that we need to deal with quotes. Let's do this. Let's do this, and we'll just see what happens. Okay. For now, all I'm going to do is return the response. What am I doing? Okay, I'm going to return that response. That will return the response to the caller, which is over here, and we're literally dumping that to screen. So let's background that session again. Oh, actually, no, let's not do that. Let's do this. We can go into IRB and we can say load librex post interpreter. Which one do we need to do first? We need to do this one first, right? Post interpreter extensions Kiwi dot RB. What did I do wrong there? Can't load such file. I've typed it in the path incorrectly. So it is librex post interpreter extensions kiwi.rb. There you go. So that was fine. So now that I've loaded the underlying extension code, we also need to load librex post interpreter UI console command dispatcher kiwi.rb. True. Okay, so there we can go back to here, and hopefully it's MSF has wired in all the new stuff for us. So let's see what happens when we do this now. Ooh, that's interesting, isn't it? Input WLAN XML profile needed. Okay, so it's having trouble parsing what we've given it. So as you can see, I'm literally just dumping the error to screen in a very nasty way. But it does say parsing the profile correctly, which is interesting. I keep forgetting that someone's dooting me. Where are we? File path could contain quotes. Let's have a think. That's a good question. It won't. I don't think it can contain double quotes. Let's check, Justin. Let's check. Why did I open that one? Let's just open another one to my home folder. I don't think it can create can have double quotes in it. So let's see. No. So you've got this test, but it stripped out the quotes. Can it have a single quote in it? Yes, it can. So it can have single quotes. On the plus side, though, we are talking about the interfaces folder. So it's probably fair to say that I don't have to care about quotes at all because the full path is generated. But it is a good question. I'm going to run with the fact that I don't have to care about quotes, but I do have to care about spaces. Yeah, I think you're right there, Atwolf. I will probably escape. What a pain in the ass, hey? Let's go back to the extension. So what we need to be able to do is we can get rid of that. Ah, hang on. We did. Jeez, I'm so stupid. Let's get rid of those. Now. Yeah, so I do need to wrap them in, because it's a sort of like a Windows. I can't use this particular, oh yes I can, yes I can. I need to use the escape like that. So the only reason I'm concerned about spaces is because program data isn't necessarily the folder that's going to appear. It could end up somewhere else. So yeah, I do have to care about spaces. Yeah. No, it's a good question, Justin. You bang on, mate. It did need to be considered. Aren't those files? Yes, they are fixed. But again, expanding the environment variable may result in folders that have spaces in them. So we do need to care about spaces, just not the other stuff. Lockifer, getting late this side of the ditch. Got to hack things. Thanks, Lockifer. Appreciate you coming along, mate. Have a good one, dude. I'll chat to you again soon. Yep, cool. All right, so that Wi-Fi profile path. The main concern there is that, yeah, how do I actually push quotes all the way down to this without causing breakage? That's going to be a fun one. It could be just a simple matter of like doing this. Let's see what this does. Now, I don't need to reload both this time. I should be able to just reload the extension, which is this one. All right, what does that do? Still not happy. Let's just have a look for a minute at doing this. Let's go standard, I gotta put CMD plus. Let's have it log exactly what it's sending down the wire. Geez, that's messy. I might even get rid of inspect and we'll just have result. And we'll also load that command dispatcher as well. And see what this does. Hey, that's a bit more readable. Okay, so as we can see, and this is what it was doing before, so we are passing in that stuff. Clearly it's not happy with the fact that we're doing something silly. And you can see here it's breaking it up. It's saying, where are we? First thing that it's doing is parsing DP-API Wi-Fi, and then afterwards, so yeah, it's parsing it there, and then the next thing it's doing is treating this as a separate command and then doing exactly the same with unprotected. So let's go back in here. This is pretty awful, I have to admit. Not really a fan of having to deal with this kind of rubbish. Oh. Well, that appeared to work, except for the fact that something went wrong. I wonder if it's got something to do with permissions. Although I don't see why that would be the case. So let's launch another one of these as admin. Kiwi get system Wi-Fi list shared. Okay, so it's not a permissions thing because we're running as system. System can see everything. So something is clearly going wrong. String quick base 64 to binary. So there does appear to be some issue with, oh, hang on. I am silly. It looks like I had a stray backslash in here. Let's try that again and see what happens. No, still not happy. All right, we may actually have to dive into what goes on with the DP API extension inside Mimikatz itself. So this is where it gets a little bit more fun. So brace yourselves. Let's just see what goes on. I wonder if this is actually broken in Mimikatz as it currently stands. We could probably test that with a downloaded version of Ben's code and see what happens. But anyway, we're looking for DP API. It's probably going to be wrapped in quotes. And there it is, DP API. Wi-Fi. There we go. So this is the function that we're looking for here. So what is it doing? First of all, it's saying read data. So if we have a look just here, see that? Print error mfile read data. So that means if we go back here, we can see error read data. So that failed. Okay, and it's got something else going on here as well. I'm not really sure what that is. Someone's booting me. Ozjock. Fuck you. Screw you, Ozjock, and your get system exploit. Someone block him, kick him or something. I really want to learn advanced hacking, but all method I find in internet is old, even YouTube. Advanced hacking. You're in the wrong spot, mate. This is not advanced by any stretch, and it's barely hacking. So if you're here to learn a bit of dev with regards to extending Meterpreter, then you're in the right spot. But if you're looking for leet hacks, this is not the place. Don't do leet hacks. Okay, so this string quick base 64 to binary. I'm assuming that behind the scenes, what have we got here? Get last error text function. So let's see. Yeah, it's passing in. Okay, so get last error returns D, which is what? System error code ABCD4913. So whatever system code 13 is, Windows system error codes 0499999. Let's see what it's doing. Number 13, invalid data. How fascinating. The data is invalid. Well, that's good to know. Let's see why this data is invalid. Let's have another dive in here. So DP API Wi-Fi. So it's obviously parsing that okay, and we're getting to read data here. And it looks like it's trying to parse. There you go. It's actually parsing XML related stuff. So anyway, let's see what read data does. Base 64 intercept. Well, this is definitely causing issues. So because we are using the base 64 intercept input, so it's calling cool m string quick base. I get it. I get it. So this is interesting. Okay, so This is something that is a little tricky. When I made the changes to Meterpreter and Kiwi so that it was possible to read input and output, read output and pass input down into the Mimikatz extension, I needed to be able to do various things without touching disk. So for example, we can now produce golden tickets in Kiwi, but in order to use that ticket, right, that ticket has to be sent down the wire so that Kiwi can use it or Mimikatz can use it. The existing functionality inside Mimikatz says if you are going to use the Kerberos ticket functionality, you have to give it a file path, right? So that means, excuse me, that means that for you to be able to use that ticket, you need to write it to the disk on the target and then get Mimikatz to read it. So that's not cool. We don't want to write artifacts to disk unless absolutely necessary, and in this case it's not necessary. So I asked Ben to help me out with something. Said if I give you a base 64 encoded block, then I would rather you take that base 64 encoded block as the file content and parse that rather than reading stuff from disk. So what we did was to say, right, I will include a flag that says if I want to intercept or handle base 64 style input and output, then you set this flag on input and output and we will behave differently. So here what it's saying is we've actually got the base 64 intercept enabled. And so it thinks that the file name that we've given it is actually a base 64 encoded blob, which is not what we want. So there's a couple of ways that we can probably fix this. First of all, it's worth noting inside the command dispatcher, the first thing we do here is specify base 64 in is on and out is also on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to execute this command again at the start of what we're doing. This is a bit filthy, just for the sake of testing. So input, I'm going to turn it off. And then I'm going to turn it back on again afterwards. So bearing in mind that this is clearly single threaded, and if you tried to do multiple Mimikatz commands at the same time, then you're probably going to cause all kinds of problems. So this is something that arguably is a little bit brittle. And technically what we would like to be able to do is maybe on a per call basis enable or disable base 64 handling. So that might be a future enhancement for Mimikatz to be able to sort of add these parameters per call instead of having them as a global setting. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off that little hack that we've produced and say, no, I'm going to give you a non-base 64 encoded thing. And hopefully we'll get a different result. Anyway, if I didn't really explain that very well, let me know, because there's a bunch of assumed knowledge in there. Okay, nothing interesting in chat. I'll continue. I'm going to go back into IRB and load that extension and then exit. Aha! Check that out. Worked like a charm, didn't it, hey? And look at that, key material. Pop. There it is, right there, folks. Right there. That's exactly what we wanted. Fabulous. I'm very happy with that. So what are we going to do from here? So we now know we have the ability to do whatever it is that we need to do. The question now for me comes from the need to handle the output of this thing a little bit differently. But given that it's this stuff here that we're already doing is very different. So, you know, I think we're not going to bother trying to reuse any of this code. We will just do something slightly different. The only thing that I would like to see maybe consistent across the two is some information about the Wi-Fi interface itself. So see from here, we don't actually have detail about the Wi-Fi interface. All we really want out of this is the SID, the auth, which is effectively yeah, what I'm trying to do in my head is match these elements to this, but do we actually care? We probably don't care. Key material, this field here would match to this key material field here. Key type, I would assume is AES. Now if we look at the XML, that might actually help us. So let's see, there's a shared key type is passphrase. Okay, so that's not actually listed anywhere, is it? So here you can see we want that name. For example, here we want probably authentication type, given that that's, oops, sorry, I'm failing at keyboards again. Auth encryption, authentication. So security, auth encryption, authentication. So we do want WPAPSK. And what else do we want? Yeah. So the description I'm not too fussed about. That doesn't really matter that much. State would be nice, but you know what? If it's not known, it's not known. That's really not that big a deal. We can effectively emulate this. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and simulate as much of this as possible inside here. So instead of doing this Wi-Fi profile path, I might actually pass a full array of Wi-Fi profile paths, or maybe require an interface ID alongside it, or something like that, because it would be nice to normalize this output in some way so that it looks consistent across the two. It's the global shared profile. That's right. Global shared profile in the program data folder. Yeah, exactly that. So we are effectively using just an environment variable to figure out exactly where that is, but that's pretty much all that we can do at this point. What I want to be able to do is pass in all of the profiles in a certain way. So what comes out here is a set of file paths, and bearing in mind that an interface may have multiple profiles. So what I'd like to be able to do is have each of the interfaces grouped together. So if we look here, every result comes through on a separate interface. And so this header that we generate for each table says this is the interface name, and there's a description here. What I'd like to do, if we can, is kind of reuse a bunch of this code so that we can effectively refactor it out. I don't think that's going to be that much of a concern. So what I am going to do is we're going to change it so that we actually pass in different bits of information. Is it worth spitting out the MAC address of the interface from the profile? For the event that the target Wi-Fi has MAC filtering. The short answer for the sake of this exercise is going to be no at Wolf, but that's a good question and is something that we should consider doing outside of this piece of work. The existing Wi-Fi profile dumping facility that works for a current user's profile doesn't do that as is, but perhaps that's something that we can do after the fact. Bear in mind that you can always do type ifconfig and get the MAC address straight. I think you can do that. Actually, does that come with ifconfig? Am I lying? Oops. There you go. So the MAC addresses are dumped with ifconfig. So you know you can get them through other means. So I don't necessarily see them being too much of a worry at this point. What you're really looking for is give me all of the details of the actual Wi-Fi profile, and they're not really bound to the. Oh, there you go. Justin's just said the same thing. The profiles aren't bound to anyone. They're technically not, but the way they're stored on disk, they appear to be. Yeah, I agree with what Justin's just said. So what I'm going to do here instead is I'm going to pass in an array of stuff. And so for each one of those things, I'm going to have to parse it first. So let's go with, we'll call this interfaces, and it's just going to be an object. And so what we're going to do for each one of these is we're going to go, right, so we've got the full path, and we're also going to pull out the interface itself, right? Now interface is going to have two things associated with it. Each interface will have an identifier, and the identifier will be that GUID. And then there'll be a list of profile XML files that will be associated with it, okay? So in order to get the interface GUID, what we need to do is go, where are we? f.path interface GUID equals f path. So we've got to get the path. We're going to split that on backslash, and then we want to take the last one. I think that this works the same way as in Python, doesn't it? X equals c doot blurp foo. Alright, so we want to go x.split, and then if we do -1, yeah, it does work. Okay, so that will give us the interface GUID because we know that that's going to be the last part of that path. Okay, and then we get the full path. So they're the two bits of information that we're interested in for this profile, for this interface, but we want to be able to group profiles by interface. So we want to be able to go interfaces, interface GUID, or equals an empty array. So what we're doing there is we're saying, let's create an empty array associated with that GUID inside the current dictionary, inside the current hash, if it doesn't already exist. And then we can do this. We can append the full path to it. Okay. Let's hold that off for a minute, and we'll move this out here. We'll go Wi-Fi parse shared, and we're going to give it all of the interfaces. Okay. Now, before we pass that in, let's actually look at what those interfaces looks like. So we'll inspect it. So that should hopefully create a hash. And unfortunately, in our case, we only have one profile to play with and one interface. But what we can do is we can at least see that the code that we've written does exactly what it is that we were hoping, which means that when we come down into here, we can actually loop through all of the interfaces inside this area here. And for each interface, we can go and parse all of the files associated with that interface, and then we can start constructing something that looks very similar to this. Okay? That's the goal anyway. So, question is, how do we iterate through elements like that? That's all right. All right, so that's not going to be the Wi-Fi profile path. Access and parse a set of Wi-Fi profiles using the given interfaces list, which contains the list of profile XML files on the target. That'll do. Okay, so Wi-Fi profile, that's not what it's called. Wi-Fi interfaces dot each do. We'll call this I for interface. So what we will do is for each one of these, I'm just going to return nil for now. Because we're actually going to be producing something very similar to this. Actually, let's just start with that. We're going to have results. We'll populate as we go, and we're going to return the results at the end of it. And then for each interface, we will create an interface object in exactly the same way as we do here. Right? So let's pump this in here. The GUID, as we know, the GUID is going to be whatever the interface is. Now, Wi-Fi interfaces is actually a hash, so we need to iterate over the keys in the hash. So I think we need to go .keys. Let's just quickly check that. So if we went x equals thing, and that references an array with 1, and then we've got other thing which references an array of 2. We get x.keys. There we go. So we can iterate through the keys, and we can then create a GUID, which we can create an instance of an interface object that says the GUID is going to be whatever the key is. So that needs to be changed to K for key. Although I could call it interface. No, I couldn't. I'll call it key. So the GUID is the key. The description, I'm just going to hard code that to unknown. I'm also going to change the state to unknown. Actually, no. I'm going to leave that as nil. And maybe I'll leave this as nil as well, which is a bit messy, and we'll adjust the way that the interface writes these values using some custom code that is shared across both this Wi-Fi parse and the Wi-Fi list. Nope, no other questions. That's a good thing. Please feel free to sing out with questions if I'm not making any sense or you'd like to know a little bit more about what it is that we're doing. Anyway, so we can get rid of this now. We know that the Wi-Fi profile path is going to change for each. So we want to go, where are we? Wi-Fi interfaces key. Sorry, what do we call it up here? We call it, we know that that gives us an array, so we can just go .each do, and we end up with a path. Or I should say profile path. Let's call it Wi-Fi profile path. Then this will stay the same. So when we get that response, we know it's going to look pretty much like this, a massive amount of pain. Okay, so for each one of these things, we're going to parse this, and the bits of information that we are looking to get out are the name, which will come out like this, the authentication, which we will put in the, I think, auth. We will also pull out this key material thing here, and we're just going to hard code Actually, key type, we're just going to leave as nil. Okay, so once we've got the response, we need to parse the response. Now there's a bunch of parsing code in here which loops through stuff. But then again, it's done. Here we go. This is the kind of thing. Results. I'm going to copy and paste this stuff because it is very similar to what it is that I need to be doing. So, oops, let's go output. So the output to the command will come in and we'll split it into lines. And then as we're just going to go through the lines and we're going to say, right, I'm going to skip that. And I'm going to skip that because I know I don't need to worry about exceptions. All I'm looking for are bits and pieces of the line that make up certain things. So what I'm going to do is for each line, I'm going to take the line and I'm just going to strip it. Okay? So that means all of the trailing and leading spaces are gone. So from here, what I want to do is check to see if the line, for example, starts with SSID name. Right? So we can do something as simple as this. If line, I think it's start with SSID name. Let's go back to our IRV. We'll go like this. SSID name with some other stuff in it. Line.start with. Let's just do that. There you go. That's exactly what we're looking for. SSID. Okay, good. So we've got that right. So if the line starts with SSID.name, then we're going to start populating our element, which looks like this. Okay, so we're going to need to add this after parsing. And this will be a new interface instance, which we will populate using something very similar to this. Okay, so we'll have interface equals. Now we don't know what the name is just yet. We don't know what the auth is. We don't know what the key type is, and we don't know what the key is. Okay, so we're just going to populate them all with nil. But if we know we've got the SSID name, then what we'll do is we'll go interface name equals the line. So the line, we're going to split that based on colons. We're going to strip it. Sorry, no, we're going to take the last one because we know it's at the end. And we're going to strip it. So going back over here, we're taking this thing here. And we're splitting based on this. In fact, you know, this is technically dangerous because I should probably parse this up to the first colon followed by space and then take everything else after it, because if the SID contains a colon, then it's going to break. Okay, so another option would be to split it based on that. Ignore the first one and then join them back together. That's filthy, isn't it? So let's take this, copy that, let's go back to IRB. And let's see what would happen if we did this. So if we went x.split on colon, we should get an array of 2. So if we split that, and then we take everything, sorry, what we want to do is go from 1 to... Is there a cheeky way of specifying right to the end? I don't think there is there? So if we went 1 to 1, that would work. So what I'm probably going to have to do is go name equals line.split. So we've actually got the array. And then from here we can go name 0. So actually we want 1 through to name.length. And we want to join that and then strip it. Right, so that would mean y equals, actually let's go up, we'll go y equals that, and then we could go y dot join without spaces and then strip. And there you go, that's our SID. That wasn't so bad, was it? Is it else if? Jeez, I hate Ruby. How awful is that? Else if. So if the line, so we've got our name now. Next, we're interested in authentication. We're going to have a little bit of repetitive code, but there's not really much that we can do, to be honest. Authentication. I might even put a little helper function in here, but you know, there's not really a great deal of point. Auth equals. Oops. Can't type. So they're the two values that we're interested in, and finally, if the line starts with key material. Can I use key? No, I can't. Key material. Let's do the same thing here. Shared key. Okay, so from there we can get rid of these things. And then we can add the profile to the instance. Okay. All going to plan, we should end up with something that moderately resembles the interfaces. So here we should see a blob being output that's actually semi-reasonable. Why are you using split? Regex should be easier. Because I'm lazy. And I just want to get it working to begin with. Regex would indeed be easier. And I probably will do that. That's a good suggestion. Thank you, Kiwisk. But yeah. Oh, hey, Jadeth. Nice of you to tag along, mate. So, what did I miss? Did I miss anything? No, I didn't. All right, let's go back to our session, which is here. Reload our files. Where'd the other one go? I don't want to type it out. There it is. Type it out again. Let's see what this does. I expect a breakage. Error running Wi-Fi is shed. The nil dot. Oh, okay, what have I done? What have I done? So interfaces in interface GUID. So here, if that doesn't exist, which it doesn't, it should create a new array. But for some reason, and then when we append to that array, that should all just work fine. So why is that happening? What have I done wrong there? Any Ruby wizards want to look at that and tell me what I'm doing wrong? Oh, hang on. That got rendered correctly. So I'm in the wrong spot. That did work correctly, and I should be looking down in here. What have I done? Ah, it's this thing here, interface profiles. That should be hang on. I've used that twice. So this interface here should be profile. There we go. I blame you people for not picking up on that. No implicit conversion of string int into an array. Really? Is that so? What am I doing wrong here? It'd be lovely to know exactly where that's failing, wouldn't it, hey? Give me a stack trace any day of the week. cd msf4 logs tail-f framework.log. Alright, let's do it again. And hopefully we'll see something useful in here. Excuse me. So, call stack 329. Command dispatcher. Oh, okay, so we're back out. I'm in the wrong spot. So this one here, okay, so it's failing when I'm actually trying to convert it to a string. Debug output for the win. Okay, so that's interesting that it came back with 0. However, that's not a problem, because the reason why that's happening is that outside of each interface, I'm not actually adding the interface to the results like I am here. What a surprise. So that means I need to do it in here. Okay, getting close now. What have I done here? Did you mean oh, jeez, I can't type for my life, can I? Undefined local variable. Did I not say it? I'm pretty sure I did. I didn't. What a noob. Okay, so this is interesting. The good thing is that we've got the GUID out for the interface. We know that we don't know what the description of the interface is or what the state of it is, but it's not too important. But we have a profile called Test Network for Streaming. It's WPSK. We don't know what the key type is. And the shared key is nil. Is that what we want? Shared key. Case matters. I am definitely going to go ahead with the regex option. There it is. There she be. Okay, so if line, now what does it look like? I think it goes like this, doesn't it? So we're going to start, we're going to anchor it. Always make sure you anchor it. It's going to be a SID name followed by a number of spaces, but we don't really care how many. And then whatever it is until the end. Then profile name equals $1. And that really should be it. And yes, it is way better, isn't it? Line authentication. Assuming that I've got my regex foo up to date. We can get rid of that. Key material. $. Well, would you look at that? That's a bit nicer, isn't it? Thank you for that suggestion. What was your name again? Kiwisk. Thank you. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. How many people we got cruising along with us at the moment? We've got a few names. Thank you all for joining us. There's 30 of you apparently in total, some of which clearly are anonymous. But yeah, thanks a lot for tagging along. I hope you're getting something out of it. Anyway, so that's given us the Wi-Fi profiles that we were looking for. Now what we need to do is we need to take the content of what we've extracted and we need to spit it out on screen in the same way we did with the Wi-Fi list. So I'm going to take this command here and I'm going to go def display Wi-Fi profiles, and instead of results we're going to go profiles. I'm going to need an end, otherwise things are going to go haywire. I'm actually going to remove, let's go if results.length equals 0 else end. So we'll do what we did before here. Otherwise we're going to go display Wi-Fi profiles and pass in the results. And then we don't actually have to do the check here. We can get rid of all of that crap. And we'll do the same up here, true. So we loop through, we get the result, and then we can go if results.length is 0, else end. So we can take this, and the reason why I'm doing it this way is because I want to be able to say no shared wireless profiles were found on the target. I know it's a minute detail, but it's important. And then we'll do this. Okay, so then it's all down to this function here to do the right thing. So what I'm going to do is take that and shove it down in the protected section because I don't want that to be called publicly. Now, if it has a description, then that's basically what I want to include. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a header variable, and we're just going to set that to whatever the GUID is. Okay, and then we will go header equals desk followed by whatever the header happens to be, which includes the GUID, if desk. So if it has a description, then we'll wrap the description around it. Okay. So we know we're always going to have a name, we're always going to have an auth. We're probably not going to always have a key type, so we'll default to an empty string. We could even change that to unknown. And we'll do the same thing here for unknown. What are you programming? This is, yes, thank you, Thunder. It is indeed changing some of the Mimikatz functionality inside Metasploit. Back to IRB. This time we want to load the command dispatcher stuff. Where are you? There you go. Oh, that's not good. What have I done? Maybe I should swap them around. idiot. Again, you folks didn't pick up on that. I'm blaming you. That's a bit better. Auth. Why is auth coming through blank? Why is auth coming through blank? Authentication. Was that what it was? Am I mistyping? Ah. I blame you guys. In fact, maybe I should change each one of these to... So for those who don't have regex foo, what I had done here is said, make sure there's at least one space between here, whatever label, up to the colon, but in the case of authentication, there was no space. So instead of at least one, I'm just saying 0 or more spaces. Let's try that again. That's a bit better. Okay, so that actually now, even though it's pumping GUIDs out, that actually matches the current functionality for the profile listing when the user's actually signed in. So there you go. If I try Wi-Fi list as is, see how it's got no profiles. So that's me running the system. Let's back out for a minute. Kill that session. And let's kick off another one. Oops. Use Kiwi Wi-Fi list. Still no. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to plug in the Wi-Fi card that I was using before as my test. Now before I do that, make sure that I've got my VM active so that it knows that's what I care about. Yeah, I know. Shut up. Shut up, VMware. Shut up. Now, wireless devices. Show available networks. So here you can see the guest isn't mine. Janie isn't mine. There is a hidden network of mine. Internet of shit is indeed mine. That's my network that I use for things like TVs and all that other crap that I just don't trust, and that's segregated away from the stuff that I care about. And there's that test network for streaming. So let's connect to that. That should work with the credentials that we've already got. Let's there you go. So once it's plugged in and active, you can see that the Wi-Fi list thing still works, and here you've got this Realtek stuff, so it's giving you some detail on the interface itself, along with the name auth. You can see it's just a classic passphrase. But importantly, we've got Wi-Fi list and we've got Wi-Fi list shared. Oh, now isn't that interesting? So when it's active, you don't see it in the shared list. Ah, I didn't know that. Well, it just goes to show how important it is to have both, huh? So let me yank that again. That should bail out. Let's go back to here and go Wi-Fi list is gone, Wi-Fi list shared. Ah, that's gone too. I wonder why that's the case. That's fascinating. Is that because... I wonder why that is. I'm baffled now. Why is that the case? Anyone have any idea as to why that would have that sort of thing? Why is everyone lolling? Now I know why you gave me the internet of... Oh, they're... Yeah. Yes, Justin, I did give you the internet of shit, but I wasn't going to... And you know what? If I had given you access to any other networks, I know deep down you would have been very, very disappointed with me. So yes, that's why you got the internet of shit on your phone when you paid me a visit. You're welcome. Speed limited network, I guess. Yeah, I do shit like that as well. Okay, so this is really interesting. I want to know why. So that is still there. We've only got the one. It's got all the key material in it still. Admit it, Justin, you're happy that I did that, right? Wow, would you look at that? I'm fascinated by that. Oh, hang on. I know exactly why. Because I'm me. That's why. So I can't get system because I'm not admin. Get system, use Kiwi. Aha, there you go. That's why. So you need to be elevated to get to it. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. I'm happy with that. Okay, so that really highlights the need to have both, right? Because this is not going to give you any access to anything that's per user that's currently active. And Wi-Fi list shared will give you the stuff that's sitting on disk. So there you go. That's really great to see. I'm very happy with that. Colina, does the Mimikatz output change when connected versus not connected? No. Yeah, apparently not. It looks like Atwolf, yes, it is exactly the same password, mate. Exactly the same password. That I promise you. This is the secret key woozing. And it should be the same every time. There it is. There it is. Yep. See? Still the same. So there you go. Yeah, so okay, that I learned something there. That's made me happy. It's good to see that both of those facilities are actually really useful. And I intend on making good use of these myself. It was just the blur on my screen. It looked like it ended in... Okay, yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, so that means I'm going to exit, make sure that I've got rid of all sessions. Okay, so we've got two files that are different, right? Let's just have a quick look at what it is that we've done. So we've added this Wi-Fi parse shared function inside Kiwi itself, inside the extension. There is still a little concern here that when we expand this is going to misbehave. But I think I might have to handle that on a case-by-case basis. I might spin this up on Windows 7. But I think for the most part, it's probably fair to say that this is going to be okay, and I'll deal with the issues with command line parsing at a later time. I also have a little bit of a concern about turning this base64 on and off, but I think for the sake of this, given that this is not part of an automated process, I'm actually okay with this. We've renamed Wi-Fi list. List shared Wi-Fi profile creds. What we should probably do is add some help. That's what we should do. Let's just... Where are we? We need to go back to the command dispatcher. No wireless profiles were found. We should probably create a usage message here that indicates the difference between the two. Or am I just going overkill? Maybe what I should do here is go list all for the current user, list shared Wi-Fi. Maybe we'll just say requires system. How about we just do that? I think that's probably okay. Okay. That all looks fine. We've refactored our functionality a little bit. Look, I'm quite happy with that. So I'm going to commit everything there and go add new Wi-Fi, shared Wi-Fi profile dumping from Kiwi. Yeah, you got it first time. Right. That, as they say, is that. Let's have a look at the time. What are we at? It's 10 o'clock. It's even a reasonable hour. Isn't that wonderful? So, I don't think I've got anything more to add. I will go ahead and submit all 3 pull requests separately. So there's one pull request for the Metasploit payloads repository with all the new Kiwi code. There's a pull request for MSF for wiring in the new version of Kiwi. And there's another pull request there that is able to dump the Wi-Fi profile from the shared location, which I'm pretty sure Mubix is going to be very happy about because he's been harassing me about that for quite some time. So it's coming, Mubix, just hang in there, mate. He'll probably jump on the PR pretty quickly. He's good for testing things like that. So I'll go and do that off stream because that's not particularly interesting and I don't want to leak stuff on stream as I have done in the past. And yeah, so that pretty much ends it for tonight. If you guys have any questions, fire them now or forever hold your peace. Or you can hit me up on Twitter. I'm the Colonial on Twitter for those people who I haven't spoken to before. You can also drop me an email if you like to ask questions or drop comments on the YouTube stream once I've uploaded it. So thank you all for your attention. That's pretty much all I got left. Yeah, so thanks for your attention and I will hopefully see you guys at the next stream, and be sure to check out Live Overflow's videos. They are really good. Check out Justin Stevens' live streams. They're also really good. Who else? There's a couple of other people streaming now. There's Uriski. There's what's his name? KX. Is he here? No, he's not here. Anyway, yeah, there's a bunch of other people who are live streaming stuff. I'll probably tweet about them. That's him. Kane with an X instead of an A. So he also streams. There's also Gineville Coldwind Ginvale Coldwind, who streams pretty regularly at the moment, both in Polish and in English. There's some really good stuff in there as well. So have a look inside the chat that's going on right now. Justin's sharing details of what's going on. So give him a big follow and definitely follow along. And if you guys are keen to stream too, then let us know, because we would very much love to watch you guys do stuff as well. It's all about sharing the knowledge. The next stream that I do will be a bit more security focused, maybe do some binary pwnage and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, signing off. Thanks for your attention. Over and out. Peace.